Hello friends, Study Track presents summary and critical analysis of chapter 4 of class 9th English textbook Beehive. The name of the chapter is A Truly Beautiful Mind. When you look at the title of this chapter, you may feel that it may be about a generous person, but you are wrong. It's about a genius, and yes, is none other than Albert Einstein. So let's find out about his life through this chapter, A Truly Beautiful Mind. Generally speaking, it is believed that a child who is a genius or extraordinary is very different from others, but it is not so. The story talks about three phases of life of Einstein, who was considered as a genius. So let's find out what are these three phases. First, his life as a child. The first paragraph of the chapter tells us that Albert Einstein was born on 14th March in 1879 in German city of Ulm. Initially, he was very different from others in physical appearance also, because his head seemed much too large, and on the contrary, his mother thought that he was a freak. What is the meaning of this word freak? Freak means an unconventional person or an abnormal person. Even at the age of 2.5 years, he was not talking, and he didn't learn to speak also, and he uttered very little words, and his playmates used to call him Brother Boring, and he used to play by himself, and he loved mechanical toys. Next part of the story talks about his life in the school, and you will be surprised to know that what was the opinion of his headmaster about him. His headmaster used to say that he will never make a success at anything, and his mother wanted that he should play violin, and he became a gifted amateur violinist. You know what is the meaning of amateur? Amateur means doing something for personal enjoyment. A change came in his life when he was around 15 years of age. His family shifted to Munich, and then he went to high school in Munich. In that school, he didn't like the studies because he hated the school's regimentation. You know what is the meaning of regimentation? Regimentation means order or discipline taken to extreme. So Einstein was a rebel. He often clashed with his teachers, and he felt stifled. Stifled means suppressed, and he wanted to leave the school. His parents then moved to Milan, and then they left their son with the relatives. So after prolonged discussions, Einstein got his wish to continue his education in German-speaking Switzerland, where more liberal ideas prevailed. So we can see that in the school, he had some tussle with his teachers also, and he didn't like the conventional way of teaching in the schools. So this proved that he started thinking in his own way. Einstein was highly gifted in mathematics and interested in physics. After finishing his school, he decided to study at the University of Zurich. There, he met Mileva Marek, and he found to be a very clever creature, and both of them become good friends. Later on, he decided to marry her also. Then in 1900, at the age of 21, Albert Einstein was a university graduate and unemployed. Then he started working as a teaching assistant, gave private lessons, and finally secured a job in 1902 as a technical expert in the patent office in Bonn. There, he was supposed to be assessing other people's invention, but secretly, he was actually developing his own ideas. And jokingly, he called his desk drawer as the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. This means that he was working on certain projects, and those projects were very highly innovative in nature. Then started the next phase of his life that was very important one. He came up with a very famous paper which presented his special theory of relativity, and this stormed the world. From this followed the world's most famous formula, which describes the relationship between mass and energy. Then we learn about his personal life. He decided to marry Meleva after finishing his studies, but his mother was against this marriage. Then, because she was 3 years older than him, and then after that, both of them lived together for some time, and after few years, they decided to divorce each other. Then, finally, he married his cousin Elsa in 1919. After 1915, the whole world started recognizing his genius. The newspaper proclaimed his work, General Theory of Relativity, as a scientific revolution. Einstein received the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921, and he was showered with honors and invitations from all over the world, and he was also praised by the press. When Germany saw the rise of Hitler, Einstein decided to settle in United States in 1933. Then there was a discovery of nuclear fission in Berlin, which created a great uproar all over the world. Then there was also some fear in the minds of people that Nazis could build an atomic bomb also. The concluding part of the chapter talks about that how, at the request of one of his colleagues, Einstein wrote a letter to American President Franklin D. Roosevelt warning about the impact of an atomic bomb. And he had written this letter in order to warn Americans about the impact of atomic bomb, but actually American president took it very seriously and he decided to take up a secret project, and they developed that atomic bomb and dropped it on Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. Einstein was deeply shaken by the extent of the destruction aftermath of falling of atomic bomb. This time he wrote a public missive to the United Nations, and he proposed the formation of a world government. But this missive had no impact, and over the next decade, Einstein got even more involved in politics, agitating for an end to the arms buildup and using his popularity to campaign for peace and democracy. When Einstein was 76 years of age, he died in 1955, and he was celebrated as a visionary and world citizen as much as a scientific genius. World remembers him as a world citizen because his discoveries are meant for the whole world. It revolutionized various concepts related with physics, and he was a visionary also. He campaigned for peace and democracy, and he was too much troubled with the destruction caused by dropping of atom bomb. So in the end we can say that Einstein possessed a truly beautiful mind. If we critically analyze this chapter, we will find that this is a biographical sketch of Albert Einstein, and if you will look at the style of writing this, you will find that the newspaper reports are also written in the same manner. They carry information, objective information about the event or a person, about his life, and in sequence they are presented one after the other. So how to write a newspaper report also we can learn by reading this chapter. So we trace the life history of Einstein right from his childhood, then his school days, then his life when he started working, then he received world fame, then his contribution to the whole world, and finally the concluding sentence is given So opening sentence and concluding sentence of newspaper report is very important. It is written in past tense and it is written objectively. So personal opinions are not expressed in this, and objectively the whole biography of Albert Einstein is presented through this lesson.